Thank you very much for joining me on the Dad Bod podcast. And today I have an awesome guest that I am excited for. And for those that are watching the YouTube video, you can see the shirt that I wore in honor of her. And this will become crystal clear very shortly why, as a tribute to her. Please introduce yourself and give us some accolades before we run down your awesomeness, because we are going to.
Oh man, where do I start? My name is Sarah McMahon. I live in Laguna Beach, California. I am an ultra runner, a poet, a blogger. My day job is in fundraising for the Red Cross. You might have heard of them. So yes, where I'll start.
That's awesome. You might have heard. Ironically, that's so funny. I just about an hour ago booked my giving blood appointment for Monday.
Yay! Do you know your type?
Oh, of course, AB positive. I've been giving blood since I turned 18. Shut the fuck up.
AB positive plasma. We love your plasma as well.
Yes, believe me. I've been giving blood since I was 18, and literally 30 years ago. And obviously, we're AB positive, except everyone can take our blood. So trust me, when it is 8 weeks, I'm getting text messages.
You're getting phone calls. You're getting mailers. You're getting a pigeon coming knocking on your window. We come for you any way possible.
We need your blood. I'm like, why don't y'all just let me just walk in and tap the van and I'll just leave. And then, but the only thing is every time I've gone to give, it's either plasma or platelets. Every time I go, it's always been an issue.
It's very long too. It takes a long time.
And I think that's what it is. I think when I've usually gone to give blood, it's been 2 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I'll go ahead and do it. And they're like, yeah, no. So I'm like, but I want to give it to you. So yeah, it always ends up being an issue. I was going to try again, but yeah, I just booked my appointment for Monday. And it's
nice.
So then I have 4 more things, and then I'm at 2 gallons or something. I had to look at it again. So
that's awesome. I actually had to stop giving because I have low iron, and so I was a little anemic. And then they take your blood, and then it just goes even lower. So yeah, so I had to stop for a while. But I was giving for a year and a half pretty consistently.
Yeah, you would need more than the oatmeal raisin cookie and orange juice that you get. I'm just gonna take a stretcher. I'm gonna be here for a while. I'm good. That's so cool. You were the only AB positive person I've ever known.
It's rare. It's pretty rare. O is very common. Yeah. Whenever I ask people, it's usually always O or just A.
Which is weird because I felt like when I studied anatomy in school, they made it sound like O was rare. So then but I'm like you. I met up. They're like, I'm O. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? I'm like, but literally 48. You're the only AB. Sorry, that was totally off the record. So I love how you ran through your accomplishments they were cute little adjectives to add to your name and not really talk about the awesomeness of them. So it's funny because when I initially asked you, it was because you had just done your blog post talking about body image and body positivity, which I love, having just released the film, my film, But You Don't Look Like a Runner. We're not here to talk about it, so I'm sort of glossing over that. Talk about, and we're just going to jump right in. And again, I said this off air, as comfortable as you are, but talk about your experience and your road as far as body image goes.
Body image is complex. Someone commented on that blog, why don't people just eat healthier? And I was like, bro, I was just like, why don't you ask everybody? Because I didn't want to get into it. Because I was just like, man, shut up. But
I saw that and I was like, I was for sure waiting for the next thing to be haha, LOL, a joke. I was like, surely that person is you can't be serious. That cannot be a serious question.
I know him though, and I think he is serious because he's he prides himself on being a hard ass, so he's one of those. But it's not very nuanced, so it's not much of a hard ass comment. It's just kind of stupid. But but body image is complex. I think I had an eating disorder that I suffered from for about a decade. I think I was 10 when I first became aware of people wanting to be smaller or diet culture to say or whatever. But And it probably came from magazines or TV or my family talking about weight. You know, it's such an issue that people just like obsess over. And so then I was like, I don't think I'm okay. And then when I was in like 4th grade, someone made fun of me for being chubby. And so then I was like, oh, I'm bad. And so then I started just doing like, I'd exercise a bunch, or I'd like not let myself eat certain things that were bad for me and stuff like that. It just escalated. By the time I got to high school, I was running a lot, and I was really good in high school. Like I was one of the best in the state and everything. But I was also like restricting what I ate, and I started throwing up when I was like 18. And then I go to college. I got a scholarship to run for Bradley University, which is in Peoria, Illinois, middle of nowhere, Illinois. And Bradley was a great school. I'm really happy that I ended up there. Just the combination of like the city and then the program. It was a small school, like 6,000 students, and I studied English there, and I'm still in touch with a couple of my professors. Like they were just awesome. But my coaches that I first had were like also pretty obsessed with body weight, which is something that like I think the running community can get sucked into. Like for your film, you don't look like a girl, but you don't look like a runner. But I was not that big, and they were telling me like, well, if you lose 10 pounds, you'll be faster. But we were competing at such a high level that it was like, I was like, maybe I'll be faster. So I did. I started restricting even more, and then it escalated into like full-blown anorexia. I think I didn't eat for like 7 days straight at one point while I was training at a high level. And so obviously body image is wrapped into eating disorders, but I think everyone suffers from it. I'll look back on pictures of me when I was very sick, and I was like 100 pounds, right? And I was like, at the time, thought I was so fat, but now I'm like, wow, you look sick, Sarah. Like I just didn't have the awareness because I was too close to the issue at the time. So now, hindsight 2020, I look back on pictures of myself and I'm like, dang, you look sick. But at the time, I thought I was fat, you know. And going through treatment, that's something I had to address as well. It's body image and body dysmorphia and those many things the world tells us about how we should look and stuff like that, or how a runner looks, or how an athlete should look. And you know, a lot of runners are like skinny and stuff, and I just never had that body composition. Like my body just not meant that. Like I can put on muscle like super easy, and so I'm just muscular, you know. And so it's not a bad thing, especially for trail running. But at the time, I was just trying to like make myself as tiny as possible. And so, I mean, it's mostly, I think I'm mostly past that. But sometimes when I get stressed out, I like will still find myself going to like nitpick myself, and then I realize something else is the problem. It's never my body that's the problem. It's something else that's bothering me.
Oh, that is okay. That's a wonderful point, actually. So obviously in researching, when I have a guest, like I'll sort of go down, it's weird because when I explain it out loud, I realize this may sound like stalking. Like I'll go look at old, like your pictures and posts and things like that. So I do that with every guest because I'm not just going to have you on and be like, so have you ever done it? Like I haven't done any research like that, you know. Right. And it's funny because I saw, you know, you have obviously your college running pictures up. I legit was like, oh, so I'm interviewing Wonder Woman. Okay, that's good to know. Like when I saw the pictures, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm interviewing a superhero. Like that's great because she looks like she could just whoop everybody's ass. I totally understand. And I do think, obviously, especially discussing the film and even hearing feedback, is we don't ever want to discuss body dysmorphia at its source. And you were sort of alluding that where you're like, oh, it can't be my body. It's got to be this. It's not this. It's this. And it seems like we never want to. And I know even in you know, one of your poems, you were talking about the old school Jack LaLanne commercial, which I'm old enough to legitimately remember him having an exercise show at 6 a.m. in the morning. And, you know, this old dude in his romper, for lack of this, like, is doing like 500 push-ups, like at 6 a.m. So, and I laughed when you had quoted that because I was like, oh my God. And I remember the juicer, everyone wanted one, and he had that. And
everyone wanted one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I think we put one on our wedding registry. We got married like 17 years ago. I was like, I want a juicer. She's like, you gonna juice? I was like, yes. Haven't you seen the infomercial? We can juice everything. We can juice a
look like Jack LaLanne.
I was like, we can juice pizza. We can. So I was like, yeah, okay, calm down, kid. Why don't we ask for some stuff we need? I was like, all right, fine. And it does seem odd to me that it's hard for us when we're in these moments to appreciate or understand what our body is, but it takes us getting distance from a certain time period and looking back at a photo, and then I think this cycle, and I run into this because I, like you, mine came from not like you, sorry, like you, it came from my family. Not like you, it's because my family was abusive, and this was physically, emotionally, and this was part of it, was to call me fat. And I go back and look at the pictures, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I've done that even to the point where I'll go back and look at pictures when the kids were born. And I remember what I was thinking I looked like, and then I go back and see those pictures, and I feel like that's a cycle of self-shame and guilt all of a sudden. Because now I'm like, oh, why am I so stupid? Like, and your blog post, at this point, I've probably read about 5 times, to be very honest, because it really spoke to me. And I felt like it was, as runners, as athletes, as adults in this world, I feel like that's not a message that, but yet, you know, like you said, we can go to the store and see the magazines that are sitting right there, or we can turn the TV on and, you know, every dude is 32-inch waist, 48-inch chest, and kind of the same for the girls in a different way, but I'll let everyone else speak. I'm not going to explain that any further, but like, and it seems weird to me that there almost is a point where, and there was part of your blog that alluded to this that had really triggered that I was like, I really want to talk to Sarah, was that I feel like we purposely, I had to choose his words carefully. We feel bad about our body, and then we purposely want to put ourselves around people that are going to help us feel bad about our body. And I'm, in your opinion and in your travel, did you see yourself do it? Because I'm not gonna ask you why, because I don't think, if you have the answer, please share with me. But I'm like, do you look back and see those cycles that we put ourselves through, and how do you feel about it now?
Yeah. You know, well, when I was in college, especially, a lot of my teammates were going through the same thing, because they're like, oh, gotta be smaller to be faster and stuff. So we would all kind of engage in disordered behaviors, you know, like we all wouldn't eat dessert, or we'd all just like order a salad and then run like 80 miles a week. And like it just didn't, you know, like you kind of feed off the people you're around. And I think that's something that, man, you know, there's that whole quote that like you're become the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that's super true. Like you got to surround yourself with positive, good things, or there's no way you can be positive and good all on your own without a community around you. Community is really important. And especially when I was going through treatment and everything, like I had a team of people working with me, and I had the community of other people also going through the same thing. And I had like my family and my friends. Like you need a community to get better. But it also seems like I have girlfriends now who are getting Botox and they're like 27. I'm just like why though? Like why do you think you need that? And it's like, then I found myself like, oh my God, I'm getting a wrinkle. Maybe I should get Botox. And then I'm like, no, Sarah, shut the fuck up. It's also way too expensive.
So, like, the real reason is that shit costs money. Like it
costs lots of money, and you got to get it like every 3 months, and it's just like, so it seems almost like society is conspiring to make women feel unhappy with themselves and their bodies and their appearance, and then to make them spend money on trying to fix themselves, so then we're fucking poor. It's like, because we're spending all this money on our nails and our hair and our wrinkles and our clothes, and it's, if you add up all the expenses that you could spend on your appearance, it's outrageous. It's outrageous.
Well, and I'm going to take it, I'm going to continue what you said, and I agree with that, because, you know, our daughters are 16, 14, and 9, and at young ages for all of them, I was very clear in wanting them to embrace, because my wife is Cuban, I'm Black, obviously, and I wanted them to embrace the physical attributes, I don't know the terminology, that they were going to inherit from our genes. And I was like, listen, feel proud of who you are. Like, even as something as little as, especially with our kids' hair. And I was like, listen to me. I have had female friends my whole life. I'm telling you this right now because, you know, like as you said, like you were talking about your story in fourth grade, like kids can be assholes. They really can be. And I mean, like unrelenting, like Terminator-esque, like no fucks given assholes. And I was, you know, having certain conversations with we'll cover this in the wrap up of 2020, having conversations that I have to have as a parent with my children of color, and one that I have with them before every school year. And of course it's age appropriate for the different years. But I remember, especially, and I just had it with a 9-year-old because she's now, you know, she's in fourth grade, but I know with the other two, they were younger. I was like, listen to me, your friends are going to be mesmerized, obsessed, and make comments, good or bad, about your hair and it being curly and it being long. And I said, I'm telling you, you won't understand this for like a decade, but you will go to your first dance and you will have tons of friends that spend hundreds of dollars and lots of hours sitting in a salon to get their hair to look a fraction as curly as yours. You all will be at the dance for about 45 minutes and all of their curls will go away and they will be so envious of you. So love your hair, love your differences. Last year, and you know, obviously before COVID, so there haven't been any dances, but last year our oldest was a freshman in high school and she went to homecoming. And she came home and she legit said it. She's like, you've been saying this for over 10 years and you were right. Everybody there was so upset. She's like, and especially because they had it outside. They had a huge tent. They had it on the football field. And she said so many people, like, she's like, it was like 20 minutes after getting there, everybody's hair was down and everybody's looking over at me and they're like, oh my God, I love your hair. And I was like, I told you. But, and that leads me to this, is that you're right. I think society sets it up for women to feed off low self-esteem. But then they turn around and say things like, well, why did you do that? You were so pretty. You know, why did you
you can't
right,
win.
Like,
it's like, stay young and pretty forever, but why did you get Botox? Why did you do that to your face? Why did you cut your hair like that? Why are you dyeing your hair? Why?
Right.
It's
but
like,
that's the same person that two months ago was like, oh, you got a wrinkle. Oh, you didn't do anything about it? Like, so it's like my wife and I would go back and forth. And I mean, obviously, you know, I love her dearly. We've been together for 20 years, married for 17. And I tell her all the time, she's like, I don't know what to dye my hair color. I was like, you don't have to. I'm like, if you want to dye it for you, I'll go to the store right now. I said, granted, I don't know what color I'm getting because I've tried to do that before. She's like, give me this. And I look, and like, God bless y'all, because I look at that wall and that's what it is, a wall. And I'm like,
it's a wall of just different colors, different brands.
But it's no. It's not even different colors. There's a whole line of like brunette. There's a whole line of different blonde. No, it's not. I know a rainbow. I mean, I can open up a Crayola box and know different colors. I'm like, there is no. She's like, no, you got. I was like, so literally, I'm the guy that's like, that's video chatting with his wife. That's like going down the aisle. Babe, which one? Like, it should be like, give me the blonde one. And I'm like, there's like, I go legit. There's 50 blonde, like versions of blonde here. I don't know what I do. Like, I shave my head every 2 days. I got nothing for you. But she started, you know, especially during pregnancies and especially now, she's like, I just want to dye it. I'm like, don't. I'm like, you're beautiful. Why? Like, if you're dyeing it because you want to dye it for you, cool. But please don't think it's got anything to do with me. I'm cool. Like, and I think, I'm also the person, I think women with gray hair look really awesome. I think it looks, it looks really, and I mean that in a distinguished sense, and I mean that in an attractive sense, that I just think it looks, and I don't care how old you are, because I've earned my grays. My grays have been here since I was 9 years old. So if I see someone else that's got, I told you, so if I see someone else that, especially your age, that's younger, that has grays, like, we're kindred souls. Like, you have my respect now. I don't even know you, but I'm like, that's my people. Like, I'm like, that's my people. Like, go you. But it seems like it's a horrible thing that it's like, you know, be young, and, like you said, be young and pretty forever. But then the person wants to say, oh, you've got gray, or oh, you've got a wrinkle. And then you get your hair dyed, you get Botox, and then someone's like, well, why'd you do that? You were so pretty. And it's like,
You literally can't win. And two, this is like another, this is not related to body image at all, but it's just like related with intelligence, I guess. It's this whole thing where like women are supposed to be pleasant. We're not supposed to be, have an opinion almost, especially in the workplace. And I'm young for my job. Like a lot of people I work with are much older than me. So then they can be kind of dismissive. And I've really had to teach myself to be just like not cute at work at all. Like I have to be very direct and not laugh and not hedge and just say exactly what I want. And then sometimes people think I'm a bitch and you're like, well, motherfucker can't win. Like
no, and it's true. I did that with my daughter, like my daughters. I'm like, listen, if I find out you were just being disruptive, I will be the person like that. I will discipline you. But if I have to get a call from school because somebody says my daughter refused to be told what to do and it was something wrong, I will be the first person to defend you. And I've always told them, like, speak your truth. I was like, I will be your cheerleader. Like, you can't get in trouble. Like it's like I told them, I was like, listen, don't ever start a fight, but don't ever run away from one. maybe that's not good parenting. I don't know, but
you know what's kind of even worse about it is I've done this and I've caught myself doing this. Like if a woman is very like strong-minded or very blunt or something, like I'll find myself being like, she's a bitch, and then I'm like,
really?
It's like internalized sexism, and I hate it so much because I'm like, I know better, but here I am judging her, just like. It's almost instinctual. It's like what I've been taught, So I'm just like, I have to catch myself and like re-teach myself that no, she's not a bitch. She's just being like a man would be, and I wouldn't think that about a man.
And I've said that to, my daughters, and my wife knows that. Obviously, I'm married her, but I'm like, I've always surrounded myself with strong-minded women and strong-minded men because I just feel like, one, and I consider yourself, like, we don't bullshit. Like, you don't have to question you don't have to question where you stand with me. Like that, like, I'm not that dude that's like, no, we're good. Like, if you did something stupid, I'm the first person to tell you did something stupid. But on the flip side, people
like that. I can't.
But on the flip side, that's what I'm saying. On the flip side, when I do something stupid and you didn't call me out, I'm mad at you for not calling me out. Because I'm like, well, Sarah, why? Like, don't we have that rapport? Like, that's how so to me, I've said that. I'm like, no. From day one, we were like, we're going to be parents. We're going to do this. I was like, I'm raising strong-minded kids. I was like, men, women, they need to understand that. Now, I feel bad for my son. He's the youngest because we, and I'll side story. I don't know if I'm going to leave this in the recording, but we joked about this years ago when my oldest was starting to get like boys. And my youngest, I had picked her up from like kindergarten, and she was like, she's like, Daddy, one of my friends said you have so many muscles, and why do you work out so much? And I looked at her, I said, because I have very pretty daughters and a handsome son. And I go, and whoever y'all date needs to be scared of Daddy a little. And they all laughed. I was like, but I'm like, that's how, like the running joke, and I could pull any of my daughters, including my 9-year-old. They know now, if a boy is coming to pick them up and he honks the horn, that's what I said. I said, there's one of two things that won't work for the next few days: the horn or the hand that pressed the horn. One of those two things. I was like, because I like mine. If that would have never, like, I would have never done it. And I said, and plus you're not going anywhere. And I said, so understand that. And so my oldest daughter, because obviously very intelligent, she's like, well, are you going to be that way with Jarrell, our youngest? I said, I'm probably going to be harder on him. Yeah. Because he is a man. I said, I'll admit that up front. I said, and I said, but you all have to understand, no one that dates you, I'm not going to ever tell you that they're good enough for you. That's not my job as a dad. That's just, it's not, they could be the greatest person in the world, but no. And so she's like, well, are you going to be that way with Jarrell? And I was like, no. And so my wife, my daughters were like, that's a double standard. You've never done that with us. I said, no. Hear me out. There's 3 girls. So for every one of you, there's going to be 3 people, guy or girl, because we preach love is love in this house, that you're going to fall in love with, that you're going to eventually marry, that is going to have to earn my respect. When we get to him dating, it's not me that the girl's going to have to worry about. It's the 3 older sisters. And I said, and it was at the time I said, he's 4. and y'all got upset at some little girl who was trying to hold his hand when we picked him up from daycare the other day. And the boy's 4. I'm like, and so
yeah, I'm thinking it works from there. What are you talking about?
I said, I guarantee you there'll be more girls running away from the house crying because of whatever the 3 of you all do to her than whatever guy or girl is trying to date you. And they were like, yeah, that's fair. I was like, that's why. I was like, I won't have to. You guys will beat down whoever he tries to date.
She's the youngest too. He's the baby. Yeah, you know what? That happened to me one time. Someone was picking me up for a date, and he texted me, right? He goes, I'm here. And I just acted like I ignored it. This is my tactic. I was like, turn my phone over, wait for this motherfucker to come to the door. It took him like 20 minutes. He waited, and then he finally got out of his car, came to the door, knocked, and I was like, oh, hi. It didn't work out. Like, you gotta be like a gentleman or like a boy. Like, what the fuck?
Because I don't even, and I've said that to him. I said, listen, you all are, the whole point is raising strong women and raising a strong son, not raising a son who thinks he's better than, but raising a strong-minded son. And there's a distinctful difference.
There's a big difference.
And that's how I raise him. Like, he knows when we walk somewhere and we go to open the door, and I'll always open the door, and I'm like, look, buddy, we always open the door for you. And I'm very clear to tell him, he's 6. So I'm very clear to tell him people and not say women, because because doing something good for someone should not be gender based. But, and so there's little things, but we're actually going in between the 2 topics I was about to cover, but, body image is something that I'm very, before COVID, I was a personal trainer and nutritionist. And I would always tell people, listen, I lift as much as I run. Like, I will never qualify for Boston. I'm not that quick, cool to you fast people out there. But I run. I mean, I've in 10 years, I've gotten 5 fulls, 11 halves, and I don't even know how many other countless races. But I can also leg press, and I've recorded it. I can also leg press 1,000 pounds, 4 times 10 sets. Like, damn. Like, I'm okay. I'm never the dude that, like, people are like, how much can you bench? Like, I'm never the max guy, because I'm not 20-something-year-old dude. I don't need to know how much can you max. Like, why? What the? No, like, I'm not gonna be. If I get hit by a car and I could go to the ER, and I'm gonna be like, how much do you bench? Like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like
that's just an ego thing anyway. I mean,
but people like, well, what's your max? What are you talking about? Like, who does that? Like, no. First thing, I work out by myself, so I'm not even trying to come close to doing anything max, because I'll get buried under the damn barbell. But
right, you're on a spotter, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, but I can work out. So, like, I do both, and I'm always very conscious. I'm especially conscientious, especially having 2 teenagers, is how I talk to myself. Because and I remind myself, there's always 8 eyes watching me. And I have to remind my wife of that. I'm like, be careful in how you talk to yourself, because they're seeing that. And we're teaching them the language to give themselves and how they see their body. So I'm like, I had posted something last year, and I had so many, it went down like a 50-50 split. And it's almost like I posted it and walked away and came back, and people were arguing with each other. Like, I hadn't said a word. I had posted on there, I said, crap, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but if you're worried about, if someone has to tell your daughter not to wear those shorts because of that uncle, then maybe you shouldn't invite that uncle to the family gathering. It was like 4th of July time.
Yes.
And I was on, because I will never. Now, I will joke with my daughters when we're in this house and it's just us, because I'm their father, and I should be awkward to them, like, because that's my job, but I shouldn't. But, like, I'll never be the dad telling my daughter she can't wear those shorts or she can't wear that shirt, because I don't think that's ridiculous. I will be the dad teaching my son to be respectful of women when he sees them out somewhere,
yes,
and not catcall
them. The notion that women have to dress a certain way so men aren't gonna rape them,
attack,
or not be attracted to them. Like, control yourself. You're not an animal. Like what? Like, okay.
Hello, true believers. Hope you really enjoyed part 1 of my interview with Sarah. Next week I'll bring to you part 2. And also subsequently we got to that part 3. But as you see, Sarah is an amazing, talented individual, and I really hope you're following her on social media and following her, buying her poetry book, which is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll be back next week with part 2. One love.